Hi everyone, my name is Arjun Ghosh and today I'm going to explain you the formats for double entry bookkeeping. These are the generalized terms for all the different types of double entries which I've made by myself from scratch. So, let's start. The first entry is expense paid. When expense is paid on spot, the expense account has to be debited and the cash or bank account has to be credited. This is because when an expense is paid, you're paying it either from the cash or bank, which is from your own or the business's own money. So for example, if wages have been paid in cash, so the cash account will be credited and the wages account will be debited. Let's move on. When capital is invested at the start of the year or start of the business, the bank account will always be debited and the cash account will also be debited if the owner has used cash to invest in the business. At the same time, to complete the double entry, the capital account will be credited. When a loan is taken, the bank account will be debited and the loan account will be credited. When a non-current asset is purchased and paid for, the bank account will be credited and the non-current asset account will be debited. For example, let me just do this here. For example of a non-current asset is machinery account. So for example, if business XYZ has purchased machinery and paid for it by check, the bank account will be credited and the machinery account will be debited. Drawings. Now there are two types of drawings. One where the owner withdraws cash in hand or in bank, and another one is where the owner borrows goods from the business for his own use. For such type of entries, in terms of cash in hand or in bank, the drawings account will be debited and the account from which the amount is withdrawn, which is usually cash or bank, will be credited. And when the owner withdraws goods for his own use from the inventory, the purchase account will be credited and the drawings account will be debited. When a sole trader makes purchases, there are three types of purchases. First one is when the goods are purchased on spot and paid for it there and then. So they are classified as purchased for cash or check. So in such cases, the purchase account will be debited and the cash or bank account is credited. The next possibility is when a business purchases goods on credit. When a business purchases goods on credit, the purchase account is debited and the supplier's account is credited. The last type of purchase is when the payment for the goods purchased on credit has been made. So to complete this double entry, the bank or cash account will be credited and the supplier's account will be debited. The next and very common form of double entry is sales. There are three types of sales. First one is when goods are sold for cash or check. This means that the transaction has been made on spot. In such cases, the sales account is credited and the cash or bank account is debited according to the payment the purchaser has made. The next is credit sales. When credit sales are made, the sales account is credited and the trade debtor or customer's account is debited. In such cases, cash or bank account are not involved. This is because the debtor has not made his payment yet. After the trade debtor pays his amount due, then the bank account and cash account will be debited. The bank account or the cash account will be debited and the debtor or customer's account will be credited. Next is the returns. There are two types of returns. One is the sales return and one is the purchase return. When sales returns are done, the sales return account is debited and the customer's account is credited. And when purchase returns are done, the supplier's account is debited and the purchase return account is credited. Now the last basic form of double entry is when carriage inwards and outwards are made. In the case of carriage inwards, the carriage inward account is debited and the cash account or bank account is credited. And in the case of carriage outwards, the carriage outwards account is debited and the cash or bank account is credited. The reason why both this carriage inwards and outwards have had a debit entry is because the business is paying for both of them, regardless whether they're inward or outward. So when there's carriage inwards, it is when the business pays for the it is when the business pays for the transportation costs or other extra charges which have been applied to the goods delivered. And when carriage outwards is made, it is the cost which the business has to pay for the transportation and other costs when it's been delivered to the customer. I think that's all for today for double entry. Check out my next video for trial balance.